I will call this meeting to order at this time. Mr. Tahi, could you do the roll call, please?
Chair, members of RDC, this is roll call for the Resources and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council special meeting for Thursday, September 30th, 2021 at 11 a.m. Roll call. Honorable Ricky Nez.
Delegate Rick Nez is on the call.
Rick Nez is present. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Thomas Walker Jr. Honorable Key Allen Begay. Honorable Herman M. Daniels.
Present.
Herman M. Daniels is present. Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Honorable Wilson Stewart Jr.
Present.
Honorable Thomas Walker Jr.
I'm present.
Honorable Key Allen Begay Jr. Honorable Mark A. Freeland. Chair, you have 4 members available for the special RDC meeting. You have a quorum. Back to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Tahi. We did have a prayer this before we'll move down to announcements. Are there any announcements, Mr. Tahi?
Chair, members of RDC, this is the announcement. On Monday, October 4th, you have a RDC leadership meeting on business site lease. On Tuesday, October 5th, you have an RDC leadership meeting on the Navajo Gallup Water Supply Project funding shortfall. On the 6th, you have your regular RDC meeting. On Thursday and Friday of October 7th and 8th, we have a joint leadership meeting with CKP Insurance and B&F Committee in Scottsdale. On Tuesday, October 12th, we have a RDC work session with Navajo Department of Transportation on the Transportation Long Range Plan. On Wednesday, October 13th, RDC has a regular meeting at Chinle Chapter House in person in Chinle, Arizona. Then on Thursday, October 14th and 15th, RDC has a work session on the chapter official stipends at Twin Arrows Casino and Resort in Flagstaff. And from October 18th through the 22nd, you have the 24th Navajo Nation Fall Council session. On Monday, October 25th, RDC has a leadership meeting with Intech and others on the solar renewable projects on the Navajo Nation and taxation problems. Chair, that's the announcement that I have for today. Back to you.
I hear none, so we'll move down to introductions on number 2. We'll start with RDC members. Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Chairman, I'm back on Freeland.
Okay. Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Daniels.
Chairman, though, committee members, although our staff, legislative staff, although Office of Legislative Counsel, and then those that are on the call with us, colleagues, though, 24th Navajo Nation Council, Thomas Walker, Cameron, Coal Mine, Loop, Tulani Lake, and Bird Springs chapters. Ado Western Agency, County, those 5 chapters. I don't and Sinigi Hinsle, the Told Message Chain, what's on the shade at Edo, Sedish is Nationalico, although yet Equa. Hinani Craigie, Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Honorable Gay?
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Kudos Daje Anon National can on the Ada Suzab, I think that's a child of the Shinida Sonala chapters that represent Lomountain, Country Gap, Salani Cottonwood, Nazini, and Uniforms. He had all his chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Begay. Honorable Daniels?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Kudos to that. So Herman Daniels Jr. I don't know. Don't answer but the chin was a strain has got waters and other toy link as a chair. What I dimension on the old jet horse out what are the kid on that funny balances. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Daniels. Honorable Freeland?
Chairman, good afternoon or good morning. Good morning, yeah. I apologize for losing service there in a moment. I'm actually headed towards the roof. Mark Freeland is shadow. Dosanigi Tutsoni is not Kia on a bushes chain. Sandra Kennedy is a chair Tana, but the H and I represent 8 chapters out here. Eastern Navajo, Crown Point, Don Hajiskis, Do, Vicente, White Rock, Lake Valley, Herpano, and Nayeza. Also the RDC Eastern representative for the 31 chapters, the 8 plus the 23 other chapters that are an Eastern Navajo agency that encompasses 31 chapters a year. Thank you, Chairman Dr. Snatad, and the staff. Thank you as well, and all those listening. Biga, thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Honorable Freeland. Honorable Stewart?
Oh, Chairman, Nez, good morning, Dr. Jayaja. Vice Chairman Walker, Yate, Aroshanaka, Mr. Tai, those staff, and Othanagi, Shmajaka, Aro Kurosan, his Kunasanagi this morning, Yate, Anosco, and Shea Wilson, Sister, Junior, and Shiato, Tell Toilet, Nasha, Are Adam, Beshmas, and Schlitzel, so Topek as cheat when Telecom Jada. Dion Kaya and litigate a professional and Schlep. Aaron, the 45th agency is represented for Resource Development Committee. What's on the H10, not as Edge Precious Gene, Kachi, the shade up between the Chanela. Consortium.
Thank you, Honorable Stewart. Shay, Rick Nays in Shiawa Sanan or Zayt Kachin, Bashis Chain, Sana Betin Dashi Cheroki, Ani, the Sanala Diet Mensle. 6 chapters I represent Hogback, San Juan, Nanhanza, Upper Fruitland, Burnham, and Newcomb. I'd like to say welcome to everybody. RDC staff, Mr. Tahi.
Good morning, Chair, members of RDC and those members online. My name is Rodney Tahi, and Ani and Senchikina. I'm originally from Steamboat, Arizona. I am the new legislative advisor for RDC. I just would like to thank Ms. Shami Begay for her guidance as I transition into this position and fully take over starting tomorrow on October 1st. She will be missed, and I want to thank her for the many services she has done for the Navajo Nation. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi. Ms. Begay? Okay. Ms. Woody?
Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay. Chairman and members of the Resource Development Committee, I am over at Division of Economic Development. They're having their retiree special event, and they invited me to be part of their celebration. And so I'm over here I just want to let you know that along with a lot of Navajo Nation employees, today is my last day with the Navajo Nation government. Again, I want to let you know that I worked for the Navajo Nation for 31 years, and every one of those years were awesome, and it was challenging, and working with the Navajo Nation Council was something to be celebrated, and I really enjoyed working with the Navajo Nation Council and the different leaderships, beginning with Nelson Gorman and up to the current sitting Honorable Seth Damon. Over the years, each and every one of those administrations brought interesting and challenging tasks for the legislative branch, legislative staff. But we overcame those challenges, and we are here today. And many of us are leaving our jobs. And also, I want to again let you know that Rodney will continue to work with you. And I really, really appreciate that. My name, again, is Shami Begay, outgoing Resources Development Committee Advisor. And Kaidinan Shaw, the Bessajan Bashichin, Tobahi de Dashiche, Kachini de Dashinalo, Son and Shle, Lani Gida A Nasha, Adogat, Ajon de Sadole. I'll be able to enjoy my grandkids and my ranch. So, Mr. Chair, members of the committee, back to you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Begay. Yesterday was your regular RDC meeting that you completed. Today is RDC special meeting. We hope to have you on with us throughout the next couple hours if we could. So you've done a great job. Your work will shine throughout the Navajo Nation. We appreciate you very much, Ms. Begay. And I can certainly say that we all do love you very much. Ms. Begay, for that. I know we don't use these words saying that I love you to people, but the net wasn't legal by cases and Goshen Yorja Nisa. So we just want to say thank you and Sago from the great Navajo Nation. Ms. Whitty?
Thank you, Chairman.
Good morning, Chair. RDC members, Nikito, good morning. Shea, Teresa Woody, and Shiro, Topahan, Shaw, Passage, and Bashing, Kiane, the Shichedo, Tanajaneta, Shanale, the steamboat, they go in a Shah, or any jet house to see Dolly. Shiro Shami, here, better day, Snito. Love you, sister, and God bless you.
Thank you, Ms. Woody, for that. Ms. Khan?
Good morning. Yad Air Resources and Development Community members, the Noshinigi, Ado Yad Air, the Isin Natsagi, J. Mariana Khan, the Shijina, Seheli Dan Nasha, Ado Done and the Shinigi A, Tohe Tlini Nishle, Rushes Chin A Yabit Ahi, Ashche Dashiche, Tsen Jikina Dashanala. I really do want to say thank you very much, Miss Chami Begay Shadeja. Thank you so much for your work for the Navajo Nation, and continue to have a wonderful time with your grandchildren and your family. Thank you again. Good day to all. I will go on mute now.
Thank you, Ms. Khan, for that. Do we have any of our colleagues on the call? Honorable Slater. Shanella, are you on the call?
Shanella, can you hear me?
Now I can. Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Chair Nez. And I want to wish my utmost well wishes to Ms. Begay. When I came back to the nation to work for the Division of Transportation, Ms. Begay was one of the first people that I ever met. And she immediately established and made me feel at home again within my government. And several years later, I'm here and had the opportunity to work with her. And a consummate professional she is, but I think someone who has an incredible amount of compassion and heart for their job that you recognize and then see in how she treats everyone. And I just want to give you all the well wishes on where life takes you next. So thank you for the opportunity, Chair.
Welcome to RDC special meeting, Honorable Vice Chair Slater. Any other colleagues on the call with us? None. Speaker's office, Ms. Yako.
Good morning. Thank you, Chairman Nez, members of the Resources and Development Committee. My name is Melinda Arbizo-Siaco, Legislative Staff Assistant for Speaker Damon here in Winter Rock, Arizona. I also want to just provide a couple of comments to Ms. Begay and state that we do wish you all the best and very thankful for all the service and help and assistance that you've provided to the nation all these years. And that in moving forward, we do hope for a good retirement, even though it's not going to be easy to let go of something that you've been working with for over 30 years. We want to just also provide our comments on Ms. Begay's departure and to say good morning to everyone. It is a very beautiful day and very thankful. And thank you, Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Yako. From the President's office, Honorable Filfred. Honorable Davis Filfred. Press *6.
Good morning, Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, Chair and members of Resource and Development Committee staff and everyone that's listening in. Davis Filfred, Ado Kilichi, Shido, Clash Chibashi, and Dashido, Twitch, that's Executive Staff Assistants for Office of the President and Vice President. Ado Shamado, Scammy. This was Bandigi. There's a lot of good people that'll be leaving us today. But I wish them well in their endeavors and whatever chapter they're going to go into. But I wish you well, Mom. We all love you and take care. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Honorable Filfred. Mr. Jason John, are you on the call?
Yes, Chairman, this is Jason John. I'm on the call.
Thank you. Mr. Tariq?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes,
hello.
Go ahead.
Yes, this is Nazim Tariq. I'm also on the call. And good morning to everybody. And I will also like to say thank you, Shami. And we really appreciate all the services and your many, many time assistant to the Department of Water Resources. Thank you very much and wish you the best of luck with your future endeavors. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else on the call that wishes to introduce themselves? None? Okay, we'll go down to number 3, reviewing and approving the agenda. Mr. Tahi, could you read the agenda, please?
The chair members of RDC, the agenda reads as follows: Resource and Development Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council, special meeting, Thursday, September 30th, 2021, 11 a.m. Presiding, Honorable Ricky Nez, Chairperson, Honorable Thomas Walker Jr., Vice Chairperson, Location, Telecommunications. Number 1, call the meeting to order, roll call, invocation, and announcements. Number 2, recognizing guests and visiting officials. Number 3, review and approving the agenda. Number 4, reviewing and approving the journals, none. Number 5, receiving reports, none. Number 6, old business, none. Number 7, new business, A, legislation number 0204-21, an action relating to resource and development and navigate committees, amending CJA-01-21 and NABIJN-14-21 to extend the deadline for the procurement of heavy equipment for chapters and to extend the deadline for the Department of Water Resource Emergency Project. Sponsor, Honorable Ricky Nez. 8, close of meeting, announcements, and adjournment. Chair, that is the proposed agenda for today. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tahi. Honorable members of the Resources and Development Committee, let's establish a motion and a second.
Chairman Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, motion. Honorable Begay, seconds the motion. Are there any comments or questions, Nanda?
Chairman Kellen.
Honorable Begay, go ahead.
If we have the document available, are we able to like to add an agenda? I mean, not agenda, legislation 201, Chairman, motion.
Okay, there is a motion for Amendment 1 to add legislation. What is the legislation number, Honorable Begay?
Legislation 201-21, sponsored by Delegate Slater.
I can't hear you. We can't hear you.
Chairman Freeland, I'll second. Legislation number 0201-20.
Chairman, can you hear it?
Say that again. Legislation
0201-21, sponsored by Delegate Slater, Chairman.
Okay. There's a motion by Honorable Kealan Begay Jr. and second by Honorable Mark Freeland to add legislation 0201-21 sponsored by Honorable Carl Slater. So that will be Amendment 1, Shananta. Is there any questions or comments on this Amendment 1? None? We'll go ahead and vote on Amendment 1, Shananta. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote?
Chairman, I vote green.
Okay. Honorable Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Kellen votes green, thank you.
Honorable Daniels, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Freeland?
Green.
Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart?
Green.
We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting. Motion carries for Amendment 1. Back to the main motion, Shananta. Any comments or questions? None? We'll put it to a vote. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, how do you vote, sir?
I vote green.
Honorable Vice Chair Walker votes green. Honorable Begay.
Chairman Keelan votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Daniels.
I vote green.
Honorable Freeland.
Green.
Honorable Stewart.
Green.
Thank you. We have a vote of 5 in favor, 0 opposed, chair not voting, motion carries. We do have an approved agenda before us with one amendment, which is adding legislation 0201-21, sponsor Honorable Vice Chair Slater. And I'll be back to the reviewing journals. There's none. Number 5, receiving reports, none. Old business, there's none. At this time, we're at number 7, new business. I would like to hand over the virtual gavel to Honorable Vice Chair Thomas Walker Jr., sir.
Yes, thank you, Chairman. Although Resource Development Committee members, yat echo. Although for the record, also we have Honorable So is on the call with us this morning. With that, so Mr. Tahi, give us a reading of the legislation before us, 0204-21. With that, Mr. Tahi.
Chair members of RDC, you have the legislative summary sheet, tracking number 0204-21. The date is September 23rd, 2021. The title of the resolution, Proposed Standing Committee Resolution and Action Relating to Resource and Development and Navajo Committees, amending CJA-01-21 and NABIJN-14-21 to extend the deadline for the procurement of heavy equipment for chapters and to extend the deadline for the Department of Water Resources Emergency Project. The purpose of this legislation is to amend CJA-021 and NABIJN-1421 to extend the deadline for the Hassan Fund Division of Community Development heavy equipment purchases for the Navajo Nation chapters and for the Department of Water Resources Emergency Project. This legislation is assigned to Resources and Development Committee and the Navajo Committee. The sponsors are Honorable Ricky Nez. This legislation has Navajo Committee has final authority over this legislation. At the time, it'll be read fully into the entire record. This legislation in section 1 has the authority outline. In section 2, it indicates its findings, which includes Exhibit 1 and Exhibit 2 and Exhibit 3. In section 3, it has the approval of the deadline of the extension. In section 4, it has the effective date. And in section 5 has a savings clause. In the legislation, you will see Exhibit 1 attached, which is the resolution of the Navajo Nation Council, the 24th Navajo Nation Council, the 3rd year 2021, which is the resolution CJA-0121. Exhibit 2 is a letter dated January 30th, 2021 from the from President Nez, Vice President Leiser to Speaker Seth Damon regarding CJA-0121. On Exhibit 3 is the resolution of the Navajo Standing Committee of the 24th Navajo Nation Council, 3rd year 2021. The resolution is NABIJN-14-21. Then finally, you will have the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internal Public Review Summary, which was posted on September 24th, 2021 at 2:03 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended September 29th, 2021. There was no comment supporting this legislation. There was no comments opposing this legislation, and there was no comments or recommendation on this legislation. Chair, that is legislation number 0204-21. Back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sahi, for reading the legislation there. Although, back to the committee, is there a motion here for the legislation?
Allen.
Honorable Begay, thank you for that motion. Is there a second?
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, thank you for that second. We'll give time to the sponsor, our chairman, Honorable Nez, although his agents, they can present the legislation. Honorable Nez, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Honorable Vice Chair Walker, honorable members of RDC. This legislation needs an amendment. We need to delete everything related to heavy equipment for chapters and Division of Community Development. So this legislation will only be for the deadline for Department of Water Resources emergency projects. And there was some confusion about this, but I believe that Ms. Khan will have some amendments for us to delete some of these. And I do have two agents, Honorable Walker, Mr. Jason John, as well as Mr. Nayam Tariq from Department of Water Resources. So I will just go ahead and, if you will allow me, Vice Chair Walker, to have Mr. John explain this part of the emergency projects that need extension for the deadline.
Thank you, Honorable Nez, Chairman. Okay, so your agents, we will give them the floor to do their presentation, Mr. Johns, and then Mr. Tariq. So you both have the floor. One, I don't know who's going to go first, but you have the floor.
Good morning. This is Najam Tariq. I think Mr. John, our director, is also on the line. I will request him to go first.
Pro Tem Chair, sorry, I was on mute. This is Jason John, Director of Water Resources. May I go ahead and say a few things?
Yes, proceed. Go ahead.
Jason John and Chef Tapa and Snaro last year, special chain here on it. I wanted to let the committee know that we are not making this request lightly. We have been working very hard to try to meet the deadlines that were initially established for these projects. But the primary items that were not able to meet the deadline are related to service contracts. We were able to encumber approximately 95% of the 25.5 million. And we are in the process of paying out many of those items that were encumbered. But there are some service contracts that we were not able to encumber for various reasons specific to those contracts. One of them, for example, was for Tohajale. We were working with the state of New Mexico Water Trust Board to determine the amount of grant funding for that project. So we didn't know exactly how much money needed to be encumbered from the Hudson. We found out just several weeks ago that, the grant amount for Tohajale. And so, but that at that time, it was too late to process a contract for the amount needed for Tohajale. So that is one example of why we are requesting this extension. There are other service contracts that we would also like to encumber and expend. One thing to note is that we are getting into the winter, colder season, and that may affect some construction schedules. So the only request that I would like to make is that the deadline could be extended to March 31st, 2022. That way we wouldn't have any issues about the winter weather becoming an issue if it delays some of the construction aspects of these projects. Thank you, Pro Tem Chair. That's all I have.
Thank you, Mr. John. Back to you, sponsor, Chair Nez.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. This legislation just needs to be approved today. It is final authority at Navajo Committee. So, and that is at 1 o'clock. So we will just need to make these amendments. I'm not sure if Ms. Khan has the amendments ready for this legislation. And the deadline is today for this. So back to you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker.
Okay, thank you, Chair Nez. Ms. Khan, do you have the language for the amendments ready for the committee?
Mr. Vice Chair and members of the Resources and Development Committee, I am currently still working on it. I'll need about at least 4 more minutes. If I could be given that amount of time, Mr. Vice Chair, I don't want to mess up here. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you for the response there, Ms. Khan. So in the meantime, committee members. So the floor is there for questions and comments, committee members. Legislation. So while we're waiting for the amendment, language for the amendment.
Okay, Delegate Freeland.
Okay, Jay from Eastern, you have the floor.
Chairman, colleagues, and Mr. John and Mr. Tariq, good to hear you both. Thank you, Chairman, for this legislation. I definitely support it. I was also thinking this was going to include the heavy equipment extension as well. We are in need of an extension for our heavy equipment. So I'm just waiting to see if we can get that done at some point as well to include that request for the heavy equipment extension as well. So area, that's us. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Freeland, for the comment. To committee members, any other comments, questions while we're waiting for the amendment language?
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, Delegate Rick Nez here.
Okay, Honorable Nez, you have the floor.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. In response to Honorable Freeland's request for heavy equipment extension, I did talk with Dr. Yellowman. I hope that she may be on the line, but it's not going to affect what they're working on with the Office of the Controller, and that's why we want it off the legislation for today on 0204-21, and they will more than likely meet the deadline and take care of it. To my understanding, there's a few heavy equipments that still need to be procured, but everything is okay. It's not a problem. It does not need to be on the legislation, or I don't believe that it needs a separate legislation for that. And that's why I requested to have the amendment by Ms. Khan to overstrike all the heavy equipment that's on this legislation. I'm not sure if Dr. Yellowman's on the line. Honorable Vice Chair Walker, perhaps she can expound on it.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Nez, Chairman, for the some of the clarification there. Although, let's see, if Dr. Yellowman is on the line, we can allow her to provide additional information, clarification, or even take some questions. But Dr. Yellowman, are you on the call? Maybe a designee from DCD that can speak for Dr. Yellowman. Anyone's on the call, let us know.
Yeah, Daishan and I. This is Samlatsa Jim Martin from the ASC department. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. This Jim Martin. Hakoshi, go ahead. You have the floor.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Yellowman is on the call. I believe she's having difficulty getting off of the mute. Is it possible for someone to assist her?
Mr. Tahi, are you in a position to help out there?
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, I can ask her to unmute her phone, but Zoom does not give me the capability to unmute her.
Okay, Hakoshi. Dr. Yellowman. Is a phone that's about
Vice Chair Walker, I don't see Dr. Yellowman on the Zoom call.
Okay. Jim Martin, are you in a position to speak to the matter here? The heavy equipment
Vice Chair?
portion of legislation? Yes.
This is Melinda. Dr. Yellowman is on the line. She would just need to press *6.
Okay. Dr. Yellowman, press *6, Jeanette.
Shananta, this is Samlata Jim Martin again. I believe she's going to call back in to see if that fixes her phone.
Okay.
Hello?
Yes.
Good afternoon, Vice Chair. This is Dr. Yellowman. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dr. Yellowman, welcome, and you had the floor. Speak to the legislation.
Okay, thank you, Vice Chair Walker. Good morning to honorable members of the RDC and to staff and colleagues on the line. This legislation has been really important to the chapters, and we've been working really hard to implement the legislation and complete the purchases of the heavy equipment. However, we're kind of in a period right now where the nation is trying to close out all of the expenditures for the fiscal year, including the purchase orders that were pending in the last several weeks. In addition, we're also trying to meet some of the requirements for the legislation 4121 under the ARPA fund management. So we're just kind of seeking some clarification and support from OOC on these final expenditures. I do understand, I do have staff right now trying to reconcile the final number of heavy equipment pieces that OOC may honor during this time and what we may be able to encumber pending the approval of this legislation. So Vice Chair, I hope that makes sense. We do look forward to finishing this legislation, and we look forward to all of the chapters having their heavy equipment and trailers, utility trailers under this legislation. So I will be on the call for questions, and I appreciate the sponsor and the support of RDC. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yellowman, for the additional information, although kind of giving us an idea of where things are at there, DCD and the heavy equipment purchasing. Resource Development Committee. Any questions for Dr. Yellowman? And or comments?
Honorable Vice Chair Walker, Delegate Rick Nez request to speak, sir.
Okay, question, Honorable Chair Nez, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. Dr. Yellowman, I requested an amendment to delete all heavy equipment as well as DCD on this legislation. Is that okay to do? Do you want me to leave it in there, Dr. Yellowman? Back to you, Vice Chair Walker.
Thank you, Chair Nez. Dr. Yellowman, there's a question for you from sponsor, Honorable Nez. Dr. Yellowman.
Thank you, Chair Nez. I was able to seek additional clarification on our process for the ARPA reimbursement for this legislation. This legislation states that it would be reimbursable pending the determination of DOJ, and we're currently in that process of finding those total amounts for reimbursement back to the nation. The clarification I received is that, and maybe Legislative Council has received additional information, but there was no defined deadline for the reimbursement. So we would recommend to keep the legislation intact along with water resources and go ahead and extend for the 180 days.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Yellowman. Sponsor, Chair Nez.
Thank you. Yes, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you. I appreciate the clarification by Dr. Yellowman to keep the language within this legislation 0204-21. So I'm glad to hear that. And that would help what Honorable Freeland is talking about earlier as well and his request. So this would cover the 180 days of extension for both DCD and Division of Water Resources. And also, Vice Chair Walker, our legal counsel, Ms. Khan, did send out the amendment language. Thank you. Back to you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Chairman Nez. There is the proposed amendment. Okay, so there's two emails. Amendment number 1, updated Amendment 1. So let's see, maybe Ms. Khan, can you go ahead and explain that? Your emails to RDC members?
Yes, Chairman Walker, this is Mariana Khan. I had sent out the amendment, and luckily I had sent it out and included Jason John, and his keen eyes caught that I had missed one particular place in the legislation that had the same language that needed to be amended. And so the one that I call wrote updated Amendment 1 is the complete Amendment 1, Mr. Vice Chair, and it is that one that should be read into the record and voted upon. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Khan. Mr. Tahi, can you read the amendment into the record?
Vice Chair Walker, members of RDC, Amendment 1 to Legislation 0204-21. First Amendment reads as page 4.
Excuse me, Mr. Chair, Mr. Vice Chair. This is Mariana Khan again.
Hold on. Mr. Tahi, Ms. Khan, go ahead. Your question?
Thank you very much for your patience on this issue. Through my email communication with Mr. Jason John, apparently I misheard the date that he had requested. I was under the understanding that the date would be March 21st, but he had said March 31st. And so if that correction could be made, I drafted it thinking it was the 21st, but no, he is corrected and said he had asked for March 31st. So Mr. Vice Chair, if Mr. Rodney Tahi would insert 31st this was the date that was requested by Mr. Jason John. Mr. Vice Chair, thank you. I am going on mute.
Thank you, Ms. Khan, for that clarification. So, Mr. Tahi, per the advisement of our legislative council, the March 21st, if you can make that March 31st while you're reading that into the record, Mr. Tahi.
Okay. Vice Chair Walker, members of RDC, Amendment 1 for Legislation 0204-21. Number 1 reads as page 4, lines 2 and 8, strike December 30th, 2021, and insert March 31st, 2022. Chair, that is amendment number 1 read into the record.
Thank you, for that reading, Mr. Tahi. Committee members, is there a motion for amendment number 1?
Vice Chair, all motion. This is Daniel.
Honorable Daniels, thank you for the motion. Other committee members, is there a second?
Second, Stewart.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Stewart, for that. Offering that second. Jotela, we have a motion on the floor, which is for the amendment number 1 is read into the record. Motion by Honorable Daniels and seconded by Honorable Stewart. Committee members, any questions, comments? At the motion, yeah, we can take a vote on that. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Keller votes green. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote?
I vote green.
Honorable Daniels votes green. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Honorable Nez votes green. Shahida, back to Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? We have a vote of 4 in favor. Opposing, there are none. And Vice Chair not voting. So we have amendment number 1. Back to the main motion. Chair Nez, sponsor, any other amendments you would like to be made?
Thank you very much, Honorable Pro Tem Chair Walker. No, we don't have any other amendments requested at this time, sir. So back to you. Thank you very much.
Okay, committee members, any questions, comments to the main motion? Then we will proceed to vote on the main motion, East John. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Nas, moving on. Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Keller votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Daniel votes green. Okay. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Okay. Let's go back up to Honorable Mark Freeland. How do you vote? Okay, Hakushin. So we have a vote of 4 in favor. Opposed, there are none. And motion carries. Vice Chair does not vote. Main motion vote at Iliado. Chair Nez, sponsor.
I just want to say thank you very much, honorable colleagues. And thank you, Mr. John, Mr. Tariq, for assisting me on this legislation, as well as Dr. Yellowman. Thank you. Going back to you.
Thank you.
Okay, Hakoshi. Committee members. Next item, since I'm here in Window Rock, and I am close to where I can sign these committee reports and resolutions so they can proceed to the next committee. so I can assist in that way. Mr. Tahi, can you read the next legislation into the record?
Vice Chair Walker's members of RDC. This is a legislative summary sheet tracking number 0201-21, dated September 16th, 2021, titled Resolution, an action relating to health, education, and human services, resources and development, law and order, budget and finance, Navajo committees, and the Navajo Nation Council, approving the transfer of the Navajo transportation system from the Navajo Division of General Services to the Navajo Division of Transportation, amending the Navajo Transit System Plan of Operation and Organizational Chart, amending 2 NNC Section 1252B 8 and 9. The purpose, this resolution, if approved, will transfer the Navajo Transit System from the Division of General Services to the Navajo Division of Transportation. When the transaction is approved, all necessary entities and oversights will be updated. Further, 2 NNC Section 1252(8)(b)(8)(9) will be amended. The sponsor of this legislation is Honorable Carl Slater. The final authority on this legislation will be the 24th Navajo Nation Council, which in its entirety will be read into the record. This legislation is an action relating to health, education, human services, and resources development, law and order, budget and finance, Navajo committees, and the Navajo Nation Council, approving the transfer of the Navajo Transit System from the Navajo Division of General Services to the Navajo Division of Transportation, amending the Navajo Transit System Plan of Operation Organizational Chart, and amending 2 NNC Section 1252(8)(b)(8) and 9. And Section 1 outlines the authorities. Section 2 indicates its findings, which indicates Section 2, Exhibit A and Exhibit B. Section 3 is amending and approving the Navajo Transit System's Plan of Operation and Organizational Chart, which is Exhibit A. Section 4 is approving and amending 2 NNC Section 152(b)(8) and 9. Section 5 is the directive. Number 6 is the codification. Number 7 is the savings clause. Section 8 is the effective date. Exhibit A is attached to the legislation, which is entitled the Navajo Transit System Plan of Operation updated September 2021. Exhibit B is the Navajo Nation Department of Justice, the document internal review request form. And last is the Navajo Nation Legislative Branch Internal Public Review Summary for legislation number 0201, which was posted on September 17, 2021 at 4:18 p.m. The 5-day comment period ended September 22nd, 2021. There was one comment supporting this legislation, and that's Garrett Silversmith, the Division Director of NDOT. There was no comments opposing this legislation, and there was no comments for recommendation for this legislation. Chair, that's the legislation run into the record. Back to you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Tahi, for reading the proposed legislation. Okay. Let's back up a little bit here. One of our members, RDC members, Honorable Freeland, apparently was on mute and had trouble unmuting to cast his vote on the previous legislation. So he's requesting to get his vote in and have that be counted on the record. Before we take any other action here, I am going to allow that. So the earlier legislation, the vote will be 5 in favor, none opposed, and chair not voting. Although what was read into the record now, 0201-21, if we can establish a motion, committee members, is there a motion?
Chairman Calvin.
Okay. Honorable P. Allen Begay offers that motion. Is there a second?
Stewart.
Daniel. Honorable Wilson Stewart offers that second. Question. Sponsor is Carl Slater, Honorable Slater, and your agents. So you have the floor for the presentation, Honorable Slater.
Yatesha Che and honorable colleagues of the 24th Nomination Council, thank you to the Resource and Development Committee for considering this legislation this morning. The agents that will be assisting me will be Mr. Tom Platero from the Division of General Services, and then Mr. Silversmith or Ms. Norma Bowman from the Navajo Division of Transportation. So this legislation is simple. It transfers the Division of General Services Navajo Transit Department to the Navajo Division of Transportation. And the legislation is really a long time coming. This is a smart move to combine our resources and be more efficient with the federal funding that supports both programs. Now, the Tribal Transportation Program, as you're aware, is the primary funding source for NDOT. That money is available for use in certain instances on transit. And in the future, there's the potential for us to be receiving the infrastructure funds or maybe additional allocations in the reconciliation bill. And I think it'd be really smart for the nation to move forward with this initiative prior to a new influx of funding and maybe new multimodal developments on Navajo, where we're looking at our drivers as well as our transit system. So I think it's fair to say across Indian country, for tribes that operate, and use TTP funds, the Tribal Transportation Program funds, and then also use transit funds, they have those entities combined. So they're not separated and siloed away. And there should be better communication and just better use of our resources if we have these programs located within the same division. In addition to that, I would like to offer some time to Mr. Platero and to Mr. Silversmith too. For those of you on the line who don't know me, Carl Russell Slater, Dasha Jidne, Donet and Shanligi Ani, Sontana Bashashin, and Ajani Dasha Che, Sontana Dashanala. I'm Kiani, born for the Jewish people, and I live in Round Rock, Arizona. And I represent Round Rock, Rock Point, Lokochukai, Saley Wheatfields, Black Rock, and Rough Rock on the council. I'm the vice chair of the HES committee. Mr. Platero, or chair, if you could recognize Mr. Platero.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Slater. Then, of course, we can allow your agents to speak to the legislation during your presentation. And of course, and after we can have a Q&A also. Mr. Platero, Tom Platero. Yes,
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, my name is Tom Platero. I work with the Division of General Services. We're asking for the committee's support in moving legislation 0201-21 forward to the next committee. Delegate Slater did a very good job in explaining the process of and intent of what we're trying to do. From our side of it, we did work with Department of Justice, DOJ, to make sure that the language is corrected, which is Exhibit A. You also have attached Exhibit B, which was where the request for services was provided, and they did surname on the executive official review. This is one of the tasks that I was given when I was hired as the Division of General Services, and Delegate Slater is correct. I used to be with Transportation years ago, and at that time, this was one of the initiatives. It's kind of good to see that it's finally going to get done. We're asking for your support. The one question that might come up is funding. All of the funding, I believe, is state and federal funding, so there shouldn't be an issue as far as trying to transition from general services to Department of Transportation. I believe Ms. Norma Bowman from the Deputy Division Director from Transportation is also on the line. We did request Mr. Silversmith, Division Director for Transportation, to provide his comment, and he did submit a comment on it, which is attached to the legislation. The third paragraph from Mr. Silversmith's letter reads, "It is the intent of the division to accept the Navajo Transit System from the Navajo Division of General Services intact with all resources, including all assigned Navajo Nation budget accounts, external funding, and assets as part of our growth as a division of transportation. We feel that Navajo Transit will fit perfectly into our long-term goals and objectives." We have been coordinating already with transportation on a number of issues. Key amongst those was the hiring of a transit manager. That transit manager has been vacant for a long time. That position has come out of litigation, so we are free to hire an individual. We are coordinating with Director Silversmith. We are in the final stages of hiring a permanent transit manager, pending a decision from DPM. Mr. Chair, members of the committee, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Potero. Good to hear your voice, Mr. Potero. Over here, legislative branch. So, Delegate Slater, any additional comments? Any other agents you want to give time to?
Thank you. Is Ms. Bowman on the line or Mr. Silversmith?
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can hear you.
Good morning, honorable members of the Resource and Development Committee. This is Norma Bowman, Deputy Division Director for the Navajo Division of Transportation. Mr. Silversmith is currently unavailable. However, we are in support of the legislation that is being presented today for the transition of the Navajo Transit System under our Division of Transportation. As Mr. Slater alluded to, most agencies, whether they be national, state, or regional levels, entails the transit system operation. And so we feel that with their transition under our division, we'll be able to continue with fulfilling the operation itself for the Navajo Nation people, to ensure that customer service continues to our Navajo people. And just as we heard earlier, that we would be able to communicate effectively on all transportation services throughout the Navajo Nation. And with that, I believe that Mr. Slater and Mr. Potero provided the information that was necessary. We just seek your support on this legislation. Thank you, Vice Chair.
Rasheen, thank you, Ms. Bowman, Mr. Potero, and then Delegate Slater. Yeah, with presentation. Is that it, Delegate Slater, for your presentation?
Thank you, Chair. So in summation, I'm here to give RDC more work. No, I'm kidding. But this will become a program under the Resource and Development Committee's jurisdiction. And I'm excited, if this legislation moves forward and is passed by council, to see what the committee will do to yield those efficiencies and really get creative and think through how we can transform our transit and transportation system on Navajo. So Thank you for listening to our presentation, and we're happy to answer questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Honorable Slater. Committee members, questions, comments? Legislation. Going once? Questions, comments? Going twice? Questions, comments? Three times. We can proceed to vote on the legislation, main motion. Committee members, I will call for your vote. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote? Green. Green. Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart, how do you vote? Green. Honorable Stewart votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Key Allen votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Key Allen Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote? Green. Honorable Daniels votes green. Honorable Chair Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Honorable Nez votes green. We have a vote of 5 in favor. Opposing, there are none. Vice Chair not voting. Motion carries. Honorable Slater, anything you want to say here?
Thank you very much to the committee, and thank you, Shache, Vice Chair Walker, for overseeing the consideration of this legislation. If you have any questions between now and the consideration at NABI, please let me know. The legislation will move to Law and Order and the Budget and Finance Committees hereafter. Yeah.
Thank you, Honorable Slater, for bringing the legislation before the committee. Moving on. Mr. Tahi. Announcements. We're down to last part of our agenda. Trying to look for the agenda here.
Vice Chair Walker, this is Rodney. Yes, we're on item 8 now, the close of the meeting, announcements and adjournment.
Okay, thank you. So we're item 8, close of meeting, announcements. Mr. Tahi, any announcements? And
Vice Chair Walker, members of RDC, I gave my announcements already this morning. I'll just have the committee reports and tally ready for you to sign shortly.
Okay, I am in Window Rock, so just text me when it's ready. Committee members, any announcements? Is there a motion to adjourn this meeting?
Motion, Stewart.
Honorable Stewart motions. Second. Is there a second?
Freeland.
Honorable Freeland, Che Freeland offers that second. Questions, comments? If not, then we can take a vote on adjourning the meeting. Honorable Freeland, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Freeland votes green. Honorable Stewart, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Stewart votes green. Honorable Key Allen Begay, how do you vote?
Chairman Key Allen votes green. Thank you.
Honorable Begay votes green. Honorable Daniels, how do you vote?
Green.
Honorable Daniels votes green. Chairman Nez, how do you vote?
Delegate Rick Nez votes green.
Okay, Chair Nez votes green. We have a vote of 5 in favor. Opposing, there are none. Vice Chair not voting. Thank you for meeting with us here, everyone on the call, other committee members. We are at 12:23. This meeting stands adjourned. Hakoshi, thank you. I'm going off to air now. Go ahead, though. Take care. Have a good day. Go on then.
Thank you, Honorable Vice Chair Walker. Appreciate your help.
Oh, there you go.